it's come to my attention that I've broken down movies from the major 80s action stars Schwarzenegger, Van Damme, Seagal, and Stallone, but I have neglected the man whose beard always looks like a last-minute CGI effect. And with Chuck Norris's filmography, you may be asking yourselves, why are you doing Sidekicks first? Well, the answer is, Sidekicks is a weird Karate Kid ripoff with some Chuck Norris fantasy elements thrown in for good measure. Sidekicks is directed by Chuck Norris's younger brother Aaron, and Chuck Norris stars as himself. Sidekicks follows high schooler Barry Gabrewski, played by Jonathan Brandis, who plays a weak, asthmatic teen who daydreams about being Chuck Norris's sidekick a lot. Like, he daydreams that to an insane degree. And not like a normal kid would daydream, but Barry gets completely consumed by his daydreams, to the point that those around him are just left to watch him act out whatever he's fantasizing about, and just hope to God it's not anything sexual.
Whatever I'm doing, all you gotta do is ask, Chuck.
Sure thing, Chucky Poo, old pal. Any old time, old buddy.
I mean, he is in class, and he is so invested in this dream that he doesn't even realize he's saying everything out loud. Now, in Barry's defense, I will sometimes have a fake argument with someone in my head, and I will sometimes mouth the dialogue of both people, but that's normal. We all do that, right? So everyone starts teasing him, and Barry employs the same tactic I did to try to diffuse teasing. Faking an asthma attack.
What a dork!
The only people that don't treat Barry like absolute shit are his dad, his history teacher Miss Chan, and his friend Lauren. Miss Chan meets with Barry's dad to discuss his daydreams, and in an effort to give Barry an outlet for his fantasies, they go sign him up for karate at the Stone Dojo, which is basically this town's version of Cobra Kai. And Stone, who was the John Kreese of this universe, is played with extreme Piscopo-ness by Joe Piscopo, who is just at maximum Piscopo right now. Stone basically tells Barry that he can't compete at the level necessary for the Stone Dojo, and then he becomes enraged when Barry mentions Chuck Norris.
Yeah, I bet you're almost as good as Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris?
My karate instructor, Sensei Kenneth, would always become enraged whenever anyone mentioned Bob Balaban. I have no idea where the animosity came from, but from context clues, my best guess is that Bob Balaban most likely slept with Sensei Kenneth's wife. Barry has another intense daydream that night, and this time he incorporates Stone as the villain, and, oh jeez, he has Miss Chan tied up again. And like, Barry doesn't do anything to her in his fantasies. She's just incapacitated and in mortal peril, but I don't think there's anything sinister going on in Barry's brain. This is just his idea of what a hero is in a cartoon. Like, I don't think it's a bondage fantasy. I just think Barry is super weird. The next day, Barry has a meeting with Miss Chan and gets absorbed in yet another fantasy about Chuck Norris. And Barry physically tries to stop an attack by an imaginary swordsman. Like, I don't know if I would call that daydreams. I think it's more like undiagnosed schizophrenia. Miss Chan thinks Barry would benefit from learning martial arts from her uncle, Mr. Lee. Or Mr. Miyagi. Nope, don't like that. Mr. Lee Yagi. There we go. Barry and his dad and Miss Chan and Mr. Lee go to the Chan family restaurant, the Frying Dragon, to get to know one another.
See, if they had points on them, you could just stab it. It's not happening. I want to impress your uncle.
Did you notice my uncle stopped using his halfway through the meal?
No one did because you didn't show that scene. Like, did they run out of room in the budget to show a scene where they all meet?
He really likes you.
Oh, well, I guess that's good to know. Can only imagine what you said to make him like you. Like, Barry's dad and Mr. Lee haven't even shared a scene yet. And Mr. Lee and Barry are already acting like they have a Daniel Miyagi relationship. That bond took weeks to achieve, and Sidekicks couldn't even give it 5 minutes. Barry's sitting out gym class on the bleachers and has another freaking daydream about Chuck Norris. This time he and Chuck are gunslingers in the Old West, and okay, well, Miss Chan is not tied up this time, but she is on her hands and knees doing demeaning work. I don't know. Barry seems to have an unhealthy fixation on his history teacher. Barry gets yelled at by the gym teacher, Mr. Horn, for falling asleep in class, and even though Barry clearly has a medical excuse to skip gym, Horn makes him climb the ropes. Barry is struggling when Chuck Norris shows up to give Barry some encouraging wisdom.
Yeah, I can't.
Barry, I hate that word.
And is it weird for anyone else to hear Chuck Norris say the word hate?
Wrap your leg around the rope.
Yeah.
That's it. Now hold it with your foot.
Okay.
Now all the weight's in your legs. Relax your arms a little bit, see? Weight's in your legs. There you go. All right, now pull.
So is Chuck Norris actually giving him the information, or is this something Barry already knew, but his brain won't allow him to try it unless it comes from Chuck Norris? Okay now, Barry, we're about 20 feet in the air, giving us just enough distance to create a deadly force. If we were to say, drop and land on that son of a bitch's head. What? Don't worry, Barry. It'll be ruled an accident. But even if they suspect anything, the beauty is, you're a minor, Barry, so you'll walk. I don't know, Chuck. Oh, don't be a pussy, Barry. I always say violence is a last resort, but I just say that to pick up dumb karate moms. Remember to aim straight for his stupid fat head, Barry. It's gonna be a bloodbath. Jesus, Chuck. Barry walks home with Lauren, who's played by Danica McKellar, who was every boy's childhood crush, and she was alright, I guess. But for me, she didn't hold a candle to any of the 3 daughters from Step by Step. Barry asks Lauren out and she turns him down, and I really expected Chuck Norris to show up here. Now listen, Barry, you don't want this broad to think you're a putz, do you? Don't act like you like her or you lose control of this chick. Call her worthless trash and spit in her general direction, then walk away. Trust old Chuck, Barry. That bitch will be eaten out of the palm of your hand before you know it.
I worry about you. The others are so mean. It makes me feel so...
Sorry for me.
Oof. Barry's upset and runs back home and breaks down crying and shatters his inhaler.
I will beat this thing. I will beat you.
Sorry, it was getting a little too heavy for Sidekicks. This movie has been pure slapstick this entire time. So that night, Barry has, you guessed it, another daydream, and I'm guessing this one's gonna be pretty dark. Oh, poor Miss Chan. Who knows how Barry's imagination is gonna take it out on her. Oh, Barry. You and your weird-ass daydream. Oh my god. Okay. So that was less a daydream and more just a lack of oxygen to Barry's brain. So after Barry's released from the hospital, the training resumes, and you have your standard board breaking, frantic noodle eating, driving around in a Yoda van, which I now realize is supposed to be a dragon, all standard karate stuff.
Hey, it's Barry Wary. I can't breathe.
Up yours, Cellini.
What'd you say to me?
Randy, you made fun of a medical condition. Even for a bully, that should be off limits. Randy then attacks Barry, but Barry is now able to fight back. But Barry earns the respect of Horn, and Lauren gets very turned on by high school violence. And also, if your childhood fantasy was seeing Winnie Cooper dressed like Donald Duck, then this is the closest you're ever gonna get. And Barry has another daydream. So they save the day, but Miss Chan has been replaced by a tied-up Lauren, and Imagination Chuck does not seem to like that one bit.
Hey, Barry. What's going on? Where's Noreen?
Hey, this is my dream.
Hey now, Barry. Don't waste your time with a girl your own age. She doesn't know shit. Miss Chan has experience, and she'll be able to teach you more than just history, Barry. If you know what I mean. Actually, you may not know what I mean. I'm talking about sex stuff, dummy. And while we're at it, your next fantasy better conjure up a loose broad for your old pal Chuck. Make sure she's got a little meat on her, because only dogs like bones, Barry. You know what, Chuck? I don't like you when Mrs. Norris isn't around. Barry gets challenged to join a fighting competition and begins to train even harder. The day of the tournament is here, and Barry, Miss Chan, and Mr. Lee form a team, but when they go to register, they discover that they need a 4th participant to join the competition. As luck would have it, Chuck Norris is in attendance, and Miss Chan goes to convince him to join their team. Be careful, Miss Chan. He does not have a healthy attitude towards women. And since the idea of 3 random people convincing Chuck Norris to join their team minutes before a competition is incredibly silly, Sidekicks makes the wise decision to not show us how they convinced Chuck to join at all. He just does. And after finally getting 4 participants, Mr. Lee leaves to go back to his shift at the restaurant. I mean, I guess he is new, so his schedule's not that flexible yet. The first competition is the women's kata, and Miss Chan gets 2nd place for the Frying Dragon Dojo, and the Stone Dojo takes an early 1st place lead. Next up is the breaking competition, but Mr. Lee is still not there.
I called the restaurant, he wasn't there.
Oh man, I bet he's planning something really big. So Randy breaks 8 bricks, and the final competitor is Mr. Chan, but he's still not there yet.
Would Mr. Lee Chan enter the ring, please? Mr. Lee Chan.
Shoes, please, coming through.
Oh, here we go. Now we get to see what Mr. Lee's been up to this whole time. Oh, okay. So he actually did go back to work, and he was late because he was continuing to work, and then he finally showed up to the tournament after he was done working. Why did Mr. Lee have to go back to work? Was it just to build a sense of tension? Because it didn't. And a little screenwriting tip, your characters don't have to finish their shifts at whatever job you made up for them. You can, give the character the afternoon off to enter a karate tournament. Or, an even easier solution, just don't have them go back to work at all, and the audience will just subconsciously think, Oh, he doesn't have to work at the restaurant today. And he breaks 10 bricks, and the Frying Dragon is 2 points behind the Stone Dojo. We then get to the weapons forms competition, and no one uses the same weapon, which seems like it would make it very hard to judge. And the Frying Dragon is still in second place going on the freestyle fighting competition, and Chuck Norris kicks the shit out of everyone, to the point that it doesn't really seem fair that Chuck Norris is allowed to enter an amateur karate tournament. Like, look at this poor son of a bitch. Oh my god, please, stop kicking my ass, Mr. Norris, please. My children are in the audience. Chuck then faces Stone in the final freestyle match, and Chuck is dominating him when Stone enters
Piscopo mode. Activate moisture.
This is such a weird movie. So we have a tie for first between the Stone Dojo and the Frying Dragon, and holy shit, it wasn't even close for third place. The Frying Dragon wins the coin toss and chooses Barry to represent them in the tiebreaker. And now I get it that Barry's the one that needs to prove himself that he can do it, but you got Chuck Norris on your team. You just go with Chuck Norris. Like if I was Barry, I'd be like, hell yeah. Put Chuck Norris in. And Barry has to challenge Randy in breaking, and Randy easily breaks 6 bricks, and so then Barry has to break 7 bricks. And then Randy is set to break 8 bricks, but he has them add 1 more.
He's going for a record-breaking 9 bricks!
Just a record for Randy, right? Because Mr. Lee broke 10. But Randy only manages to break 8, which is still impressive, but everyone is shocked and appalled. So all Barry has to do is just break 9 freaking bricks. Like, the escalation of this competition is insane.
When you break your hand on those bricks, Barry Wary, I'm gonna go get a great big victory kiss from Lauren.
And I know that they want Randy to be the Johnny Lawrence of this movie, but come on, he's Ned. Everyone knows he's Ned. Barry's starting to lose his confidence, so to help, Mr. Lee sets the bricks on fire. Are there any rules or structures for this tournament? Also, Barry has asthma, so maybe he shouldn't be breathing in burning lighter fluid. And Barry easily breaks the 9 bricks, but I can't help but think that the bricks being on fire would reduce the structural integrity of the bricks, thereby making it easier to break. This kid could barely walk without almost dying a few months ago, so good for him. And everyone celebrates, but guys, stage is on fire. Guys, where's Chuck Norris? He'll put it out. So Barry won the tournament for his team, and he sits down to listen to the sage-like wisdom of Chuck Norris.
Dreams do come true, Barry. If you want them bad enough.
That's it? Where'd you get that off a bumper sticker? I would say that it's just bad writing for Sidekicks, but Chuck Norris is full of platitudes like this.
When you do face up to your mistake and know you'll never do it again, then you become a much stronger person. The next time things get tough, you mess up on a test or lose the game, don't let it get you down. Don't give up and you'll be a winner. I don't like having to resort to violence. It's always my last option. A bully is no one to be afraid of, because a bully is nothing but a coward. Sometimes the things we want most are the hardest to get. That means you have to be even more determined to succeed. But that's what it takes to be a winner. You have to want it bad enough to stick with it no matter how tough things get. And things got pretty tough for us down in Florida with the deadly dolphins.
See what I mean? Wait, what was that last one? So Barry leaves the only magazine he's been reading for 3 months behind, and when he turns around, Chuck Norris is gone. Now, was Chuck Norris there as Barry's final daydream? Or did Barry finally pull dream Chuck Norris into our world? And then a boy in a wheelchair discovers the magazine, and I guess now we're led to believe that the magazine acts as some kind of genie lamp that can conjure Chuck Norris when you're at your lowest? Or did I just put more thought into this than Aaron Norris did? So that was Sidekicks, a weird love letter from one brother to another.